Hi, my name is Captain Jay Arthur with the Phoenix Fire Department. Every year the firefighters respond on the terrible tragedy of drownings. When those incidents occur, the need to know CPR is very important. Because of that, we have put together a CPR video with our community partners, Salt River Project and the Point Tapatio Cliffs Resort. As part of our partnership and collaboration, I'd like to introduce from SRP, Tony Moya.
Thank you, Jay. It's an honor to be with you here today. Did you know that SRP has been delivering water and power to the Valley for over 100 years? One of those ways we deliver more than water and power is through our SRP Safety Connection. Did you know Arizona was second and highest in the nation in drownings last year? Alone in Maricopa County, there were over 20 drownings. But all this again is preventable. Water safety doesn't end in the pool. Did you know that a child can drown in as little as 2 inches of water? So make sure to watch your children around bathtubs, toilets, and buckets of water. Also, SRP delivers water to the Valley through our canal system. If you're walking near a canal system or riding your bike near the canal system, make sure you stay away from the edge because those are slippery and you can fall in. Those are some of the ways SRP's Safety Connection program tries to build awareness, communicate, and educate our customers on water safety. To learn more, visit us at srpnet.com/safety.
We're now going to do a demonstration on how to do CPR for an adult victim. Right now, an adult victim is considered anybody above the age of 8 by standards. We have gone to a system to where we use the word CAB. It's a little acronym that allows us to know that we're going to do compressions first, then the airway, then the breathing, which is a little bit changed from what we learned in a prior pass of CPR training. Before we actually do the cabbing part of CPR, we got to make sure the scene is completely safe. That means if you have a victim, make sure you don't become one, that the area around you is safe enough for you to approach and go ahead and render aid to the victim. The next thing you want to do as part of our 5-step procedure is to make sure there's a problem to begin with. So what you do, you elicit a response by shaking and shouting. Also, you're going to listen and assess for breathing. Is the person breathing? Or are they breathing adequately? If they're having a struggle breathing, they're not doing the right thing and we need to assist them. Once we know and determine we have a problem of unresponsiveness or trouble breathing, we're going to activate the system, which is step number 2. Activating the system is calling 911. That's going to get paramedic level treatment there to help the victim as soon as possible. After that, we go to, again, that acronym CAB. We start again with compressions first. To position ourselves correctly for compression, we use a mid-nipple line placement, basically the center of the chest. We can use either hand as a hand placement down over the chest, but we're going to be on the sternum bone or the breastbone in the middle of the chest, intersect that imaginary line, and then we're going to place one hand down, the other hand on top. Interlocking the fingers is good because you won't slip and slide on the victim if they're wet or they're a drowning victim of some kind to where the surface is moist. So once we lock our hands here, technique, you want to get your knees as close to the victim as possible. You want to make sure you lean over so you use your lower body weight to help. And you want to lock your elbows and not do one of these things. It'll get you tired and you're not going to be as effective. So when you lean forward with your shoulders, it's a straight down compression. You want to be harder and faster. They're recommending to press at least 2 inches. So it's a pretty good depth of compression because we want to get the blood circulating in the victim. And we want to do it to a count of 30 times. The standard ratio, regardless of an adult, child, or an infant, we want to press 30 times and give 2 ventilation. So we're going to do like so. Lean over, start your compression. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. After 30 compressions is done, the A part of cabbing is establishing the airway. An airway is established by tilting the head back and lifting up the chin. What you're accomplishing here is you're removing the tongue away from the back of the throat that allows you to have direct ability to put ventilation from your breath into the victim's body. And the other thing that will assist you is to be able to pinch the nose off with the thumb and index finger with the hand on the forehead. You're going to seal the mouth completely with your mouth, and you're going to give 2 breaths just to see adequate rise and fall in the chest. So that's the last part of cabbing, is the breathing part. So now we're going to attempt to do 2 breaths, not too much, just adequate breath to see a good rise and fall in the chest. Each time you give a breath, you make sure that the patient exhales that breath so it gets out to when you start your second breath. You want to do 30 compressions to 2 breaths for a total of 5 cycles initially, and that's about 2 minutes. After that, you want to reassess responsiveness and see if the person is breathing on their own again, if their circulation has come back. If not, you continue to do that until help has arrived, until you get relieved of someone of equal or higher ability, another person trained in CPR, and of course, after you call 911, when the paramedics get there, they'll take over and continue to render aid to the person. One other thing I want to mention, a lot of times people fear the problem about putting your mouth on someone else's mouth, especially when you're an old person. They have things called barrier devices. This is a face shield that actually we use on mannequin practice, but they do have approved devices that actually will protect you from exposure when you give mouth-to-mouth to somebody. And basically it simply goes over the mouth. You do the same thing that we did. You establish the airway, and you still can give your breath through this mask. It works the same way, but affords you protection. So that's what we highly recommend, that you protect yourself in this situation. And again, remember the 5 steps. The 5 steps are these. You want to make sure you have a problem, elicit a response, they're not adequately breathing. Step 2, get some help, call 911, and always remember the acronym CAB. Compressions first, establish the airway, and then give your 2 breaths. And remember the cycles is 30 to 2. Now we're going to move into the child CPR. It varies a little bit from the adult we just talked about, but basically we got to still remember it's still 30 compressions to 2 ventilation, and remember we're cabin, compression, airway, and breathing. We're still going to make our assessment of the person by shaking and shouting, assessing the breathing. Are they breathing at all, or are they breathing adequately? If not, we're again activate the system. That's step number 2, calling 911. Once we activate the system, we're going to do the process of cabbing. Again, starting with chest compression, we're going to vary just a little bit. Instead of using the pressure of 2 hands, we're going to use the pressure of 1. Our placement of our hands is going to be the same. It's a mid-nipple line placement, using the heel of 1 hand instead of both, because again, the victim's body is smaller and we don't need the compression of 2 hands. So once we find our spot in the breastbone, center of sternum, 1 hand down. A lot of times people do 2 different methods. I like teaching around the forearm here, and you're doing compressions down. Some people like putting their hand on the forehead and doing compressions this way, but you're still accomplishing the same thing. You're pressing with the pressure of 1 hand instead of 2. So once you find your spot, again, you're going to be doing 30 compressions, because that doesn't change throughout the process of doing CPR to any age or size of victim. So we do like so. Again, it's going to be about 1.5 inches depth of compression. You're going to be lighter because, again, you don't need to press as hard, and by using 1 hand, you're going to accomplish that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. Again, the alternate method, you can also keep this hand on the forehead, and using the pressure of the other hand, you're accomplishing the same thing, using the pressure of 1 hand instead of 2. This method allows you to go ahead and do the airway and the breathing a little bit quicker where your hand position is. So again, after the compression, we're on the A part of the cabbing. Establish an airway the same way as an adult, head tilt, chin lift. You're getting the tongue out of the way. And again, the last part of cab is the breathing part. We're going to give 2 breaths. Again, with a smaller size patient, we only need adequate breath, just a good rise and fall in chest. So we're going to be breathing a lot less than we do with an adult victim, because we don't want to give them too much. Too much air into the body is not good. It goes all into the abdominal area, the stomach, and it causes a lot of problems that we don't want to deal with. So once we get our airway established, we'll give our 2 breaths. Again, we're going to pinch the nose off, seal the mouth completely. Again, a good adequate rise and fall of the chest. 5 cycles of 30 to 2, about 2 minutes will go by. We want to do a reassessment at that time and to make sure that if they got any responsiveness back. If not, we continue to do this again until we relieve the somewhat of equal higher ability, another person trained in CPR, or the EMS people responding, which is going to be the fire department. Our last segment is going to be infant CPR. An infant is considered birth to a year old. A couple of variations we got to make because of body size is we need to bring the person up to an elevated surface. You can use a tabletop, kitchen counter, whatever that is. You need to bring them up to you. It makes CPR a lot easier. Again, we want to remember our 5 steps of CPR when we do this. And again, we're going to have some variations that we'll talk about as we go through. Instead of shaking and shouting the infant, we a lot of times want to prick them at the bottom of the feet. That allows us to see a good response if there is any. Want to make sure that we have breathing or adequate breathing. If not, we're going to do step 2, which is activating the system. We need to call 911. And again, going back to our acronym CAV, we start off with compressions. Compression is going to be a little different. We're not using 1 or 2 hands. We're using the pressure of fingers. To find our placement on the chest, we're still going to do the center of the chest, the sternum or the breastbone, but we'll use the pressure of 2 fingers instead of 1 or 2 hands. To find our spot, we imagine there's a nipple line here. Index finger goes to the center, middle, and ring finger down. Lift the index finger up, and we'll do the compressions of 2 fingers here. The other hand will be around the forehead up here to be in correct position, and then we can go with our 30 compressions. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. So the compression component is done. Now again, we need to do the airway. Airway establishment is a little bit different because babies have not developed their neck completely. It's more like a straw. So we can actually hyperextend the neck and not get adequate ventilation. So we want to bring them to what we call a sniffer position, still doing a head tilt, chin lift. And then the last part is the breathing component. We want to make sure we breathe for them. Again, 2 breaths. The variation we make here is we cover the mouth and the nose completely instead of pinching the nose off. Adequate breath here is just filling your cheeks up with puffs of air and see a good rise and fall in the chest like so. After that, you continue to do CPR for 5 cycles, which is 2 minutes. You want to do that until you're either relieved by a person of equal or higher ability, another person trained in CPR, or again, when 911 gets there and the paramedics get there, they'll take over for you. Drowning is preventable. Activate, block, watch, and learn. First of all, you must block access to all sources of water, including bathtubs, toilets, and buckets. It also means locking and alarming all doors and windows leading to a pool or spa and securing doggy doors. Barriers such as fences, pool covers, and nets should be properly maintained and in place at all times. When we ask you to watch, that means eye-to-eye contact. It's mandatory when your child is in any body of water. With touch supervision, that means they're in with arm's reach, being best practice. Always have a designated watcher at all swimming areas. Never swim alone as a child or even as an adult. And lastly, we must all learn how to swim. Take a water safety or survival class, but most importantly, when we learn, we must take a life-saving CPR class. If and when there is a drowning, bystander CPR needs to be performed to allow the victim to have a positive, survivable outcome.